Hi everybody, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, please thumb up the video, consider subscribing to the Patreon to help me out with review copies, but also mainly just leave a comment on the video and let me know your thoughts on the game in question, or anything to do with the video or channel, or even just me, whatever. Leave a comment, preferably a nice one though if you can help it. We'll get on with the review in just a second, but first, quick word from the sponsor. As a fellow gamer, you'll understand this is unacceptable. The solution? Head down to my new sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk. KIENDA stocks many of the hot new releases as well as some old hidden gems. Free delivery on orders over £30, further discounts on bulk purchases, and even 5% of your spending refunded back to you as points to be used for further discounts down the line. If you use the referral link in the description below and sign up for a new account, you'll get 5% discount on your first order over £60. So let's make gaps in your collection a thing of the past. Get down to KIENDA and start saving today. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the video.
Get on with it.
So today I'm taking a look at Sniper Elite, the board game from Rebellion Unplugged, designed by David Thompson, and I'm going to confess right now, which is probably going to get me a ton of backlash, I've not played any of the Sniper Elite computer games. What? I don't know why, honestly. I think it's just because that by the time I realised there was a Sniper Elite game, we were already, I think, on Sniper Elite 4. And now we've just released Sniper Elite 5, and I'm like, well, where do I even begin? Do I go all the way back to the first one and play for all 5? Or can I just get number 4 now that it's cheaper? Or do I get number 5 because it's the new released one? I don't know. It looks cool, though. I mean, taking long-range shots and being stealthy and that kill cam footage looks brilliant when I watch it on YouTube. So I'll probably will play the game at some point. I just haven't. So I didn't have any of that going into this game like some people would. So why did I even bother backing it? Well, technically I late pledged it, but that's another story. But I was thinking, right, one of my favourite hidden movement games is Spectre Ops. I have it on my shelf in the other room. It is a cyberpunky style, like futuristic hidden movement game. One versus, well, sort of all versus one agent, bunch of people trying to hunt them down, and I really like hidden movement games. I think they're a fun genre. There's always one big flaw though with hidden movement games though. They take a while. They're quite long. And so I was like, well, Spectre Ops is great and I love it and it's been on my top 100 before. Might even still be. But, it does take a while. Can we shorten it a little bit? Well, this was proclaiming to be a shorter hidden movement game. And I know there's something called Mind Management out. I've not played it. I don't like the artwork of it. I'd give it a try, but I'm not exactly holding my head up for that one. And yes, Scotland Yard exists, but that's a pretty basic one. I wanted something that was like meaty enough, but didn't take ages and ages and ages to play or something. And this one looked to be the solution to my, the solution to my prayers. Question is it?
What am I, psychic?
So Sniper Elite has the same setup as before. You have this huge board, a nice big thick chunky board, and I will say the component quality of this is pretty decent. But it's an all versus one game again, so you have one sniper and a bunch of the Germans basically going up against him. And so the Germans will position themselves. There's 3 squads of 3 models, 2 normal people and a leader for each, and they have specific spots they start on. The sniper has 2 objectives on the map out of a potential 8 to pick from. That's represented by these playing cards, which is quite a nice little touch actually. I mean, this is historically accurate to the fact that in those days in the war, they essentially used playing cards as a way of distributing codes. So I like the fact that they use them. It's just a nice little historic flavor text touch. But the idea is that the 2 objectives, the sniper then picks one of 4 locations to start that doesn't link to one of their objectives color-wise. You know, it's to make it fair. And so what happens is, very much like other hidden movement games, the sniper has a board representation of this, and they use a dry erase marker, and they mark the squares they're moving to.
You mean have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
But if they move too fast, they have the potential to alert other German soldiers to his whereabouts. But then, once it's the defender's turn, they have various actions that they can perform with their units, such as move, sweeping areas, attacking the space they're in if they think they've got the sniper, gaining intel, like, are you in that sector? And slowly but surely, and with the use of kind of bottlenecking certain routes, like, oh, I think he's going for that objective. All right, let me just cover that doorway, because the sniper can't move through their units. By eventually the defenders kind of whittle down a location and start either attacking the sniper directly, or more often than not, and this is the recommendation I make for players, because people get trapped into trying to kill the sniper quick. just run out the timer. He's got 10 rounds to complete each objective, so 20 rounds total, but only 10 for each objective. Run out the timer. Delay the sniper so that the sniper starts making mistakes or rushes things. That's how you get him. But the sniper basically gets a chance to move around, shoot at bad guys, of which they use a bag drawing mechanism, we'll get onto that a little bit later, and use various loadout cards, which are items like, well, I don't want to include expansion elements, but I mean things like silenced ammo, masking, a trench gun, a rock. Yeah, one of them's a rock. It's kind of weird. Like, literally, one of my loadouts is a rock.
It was a big rock.
Could I not find like a pebble when I was out and about? I don't know, but that's more something that's amusing. And basically you go through until the sniper is either wounded twice or runs out the time, in which case sniper loses, or the sniper completes both objectives. And that's how they win. So I was thinking, like, okay, this certainly has the ingredients for it, but first of all, is it easy enough to play? And I'm glad to say it is. It is pretty straightforward, actually. I mean, yes, you have got, let's say, that's an expansion bit, we'll get onto that later, but yeah, you've got a solo rulebook, and you've got the main rulebook here. The main rulebook is not that long. It is mostly text. I wish there was maybe a bit more like pictorial representation of what was going on, but the important things are covered. You know, how to shoot, movement, and line of sight, which is definitely an important thing to get right. You know, can I shoot through a building or through an elevated space? You know, you need to know this stuff. And honestly, it won't take you long to read through the rulebook, and I found the rules to be fairly straightforward. Occasionally in certain games I might have to just check for one small thing if somebody asks a question, but for the most part, I've now got the rules down to where I can teach this game in full without ever referring to the rulebook. That's pretty good going, and certainly ticks that box. That's what I like. We'll get onto the solo a little bit later. In terms of the fun aspect, it is definitely really fun. I mean, I love being the sniper in these, or the hidden person. The one who's sort of going, you can't see me.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Trying to hide away with that added feeling of tension as as the defenders discuss, like, I reckon he went there. I mean, if he's heading for that objective, do you reckon he went round the building? Well, if I go here, I'm going to sweep this area. And they sweep, like, literally next door to where you are. And it's like, so I love that. Reading the hidden movement, I mean, is so good. And that is perfectly represented here and fits thematically with the whole idea of being a sniper. Particularly as you actually get to take pot shots at the defenders as well. More on that a little bit later. But the defender team is still good fun as well, having to try and work out where the sniper can be. And it's very much a bit of a crescendo effect. In the first half of the game, say for Objective 1, it's a bit easier for the sniper because the defenders don't have much information to go on, and some people feel like it's a bit too much guesswork. I can understand that, but you have to understand that that's the easy mode for the sniper. Once they complete their first objective, though, it's a little bit trickier because not only is your position revealed, it's a bit harder for them to shoot other people because of what you put in the bag, and obviously the enemy can now sort of close in on them a bit more, so it becomes a little bit harder for the sniper. Now, I will say I have won more games as the sniper than the defenders, but there are ways to tweak the difficulty in the game by giving the sniper less cards or the defenders more stuff to do. So you can tweak the difficulty if you feel that one side is winning more than the other. But I just think the thematic fun behind this is already, like, you know, solid and wins me through despite that. Now, there is a bit of a flaw with the defender's side, though, with the player scaling. The player scaling, sadly, is not particularly great here. In fact, I would dare say Spectre Ops actually does it better. Because in Spectre Ops, each of you has your own separate, like, whatever they're called, defender in this case. You know, you have your special character, and you control that character, and you decide where you're moving in that. Here, you have 9 units, and they're effectively just shared out amongst all the players, regardless of whether you play as 2, 3, or 4 players. That doesn't feel quite as interesting or fulfilling. Especially as, honestly, one person can control what the 9 people do pretty easily, so the sole reason you have additional players there is just discussion points. Like, you know, what do you think? Do you reckon he went over there? He went over there? And suddenly it just kind of makes you feel that 4 players in this game is completely unnecessary. In fact, honestly, I don't see why you would play this with 4. Watch the Dice Tower playthroughs if you don't believe me. Having 3 people discussing the tactics for the defenders, I just think is overkill.
Would this brilliant plan involve us climbing out of our trenches and walking very slowly towards the enemies? Huh?
Component quality is pretty sound, even if you just get the normal version. I've got a slightly pimped up Kickstarter version, which gave me a better shot bag, but, you know, the cards are decent enough quality. You still get these little miniatures, which are decent detail, actually. I mean, they're basically washed small miniatures, and honestly, I wish more games did this. You know, why has it always got to be stupidly expensive, huge, giant, 10 feet tall miniatures? Why can't you just give me a washed miniature like this? It shows me the detail of the miniature, looks good on the board, and doesn't cost me the ends of the earth. Although, I will say, this game does cost a fair bit for what you're getting in the bags. It's probably a little bit overpriced in my opinion, but not crazy overpriced. Now, if you got the normal retail version, you'll have very thick, chunky cardboard tokens for the shot bag. This is where you essentially have a bag building exercise where you draw tokens out of the bag, declaring how many you're going to draw, and you have to get so many hit tokens in order to hit someone at a certain range. The cardboard tokens are pretty decent, and you get a nice small bag to deal with them. So that's all well and good. I might recommend you upgrade to the, this. Not only do you get a jumbo bag with a hit logo on it, but you get poker chip tokens, the recoil, the noise, and that.
You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?
Oh, they're so good, and enough to knock the mascot off the box. But yeah, these tokens are fantastic. I love these. They're so chunky. It's just like the stuff you get in War Chest. Really good quality. Honestly, if you can upgrade to these, I don't think you'll regret it. Not to say the cardboard ones are bad by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're willing to shell out a few extra bucks on this game, I can highly recommend these chips. They are really cool. Now, you do have a solo mode in this game with, courtesy of David Turksey and Norley Lubbers. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Cool Whip, Cool Whip, Cool Whip, Cool Whip.
But essentially the David Turksey team. Seriously, take a break. You stop designing solos for every single game in existence. I mean, you can rest. You can sleep now. But, you know, it was good to see. Okay, a solo mode. But then I thought, how on earth do you do a stealth game as a solo mode? I mean, the whole point is that you're supposed to be hidden from opponents. So how is that supposed to work? Well, it does and doesn't. The thing is with the solo mode is that it's very different from how the multiplayer game plays. In the multiplayer, you have this hidden charge and you're trying to be secret from the defenders and that. This is completely gone in the solo mode. What you essentially have is the defenders are already set up. You move based on whatever you're doing normally. You take shots and you move around. But what you get are a bunch of solo cards and a dice. And the idea is that you have a new board. The other side is tracking the timer for the rounds, but this side is solo. You have a certain amount of solo cards based on the map you're doing, and essentially they're laid out face up or face down depending on, you know, the setup. And so you roll the die. It selects which card and you follow the instructions, which usually gets the defender to redeploy units or move towards where your last known sector was. It's another mechanic in there. Or to scan certain areas or attack certain areas. But basically you have some idea of what the enemy could do on a turn, but you're not entirely certain because of A, the dice roll, and B, one card being face down. It's a neat little, it's clever and it works, sort of. But it really does change the game to a different state of play, which I'm not a fan of. And it's not to say it's a bad solo at all. I think the solo's done pretty well. I mean, it's an impossible task. You cannot design a solo stealth game. It just doesn't work. But put it this way. If the multiplayer game is Sniper Elite, the solo game is Call of Duty. Because stealth doesn't really matter in the solo mode. You've got a last known sector mechanic of like, oh yeah, if you're in a last known sector and you move and you don't leave that sector, you'll take hits. But your hits are basically just a stack of these chips that you sort of draw them off, put them in your bag. But then when you hit opponent defenders, you get to take chips out of the bag and put them back on your hit point stack. And so you just keep refreshing this over time, and I find that it's incredibly difficult to actually get wounded or die in this game. Like, nigh on impossible. Especially if you're good enough at getting shots off on the opponent and getting enough hit tokens to manage. But the problem is that the stealth doesn't really matter because you only have so much time. there's no hidden movement aspect really. It's a case of where did you move in relation to your last position. It's not like you're fooling an AI opponent into where you are. So I find that every solo game I play, it's basically run and gun. You run it and you take a shot, knock them out. Yeah, you might like reveal your last known sector, whatever. Oh, I took a hit, never mind. Oh, I took another hit, never mind, because now I'll shoot this guy. Now I get 2 tokens out of my bag and stick them on my hit point stack. Rinse, repeat, get the objective. Right, okay, now leg it to the next one. Poof, poof. Literally, the last game I played of this, I took the short-range sniper, which get to the expansion later, but I took a short-range sniper and filled up my bag with a bunch of these hit tokens from killing a couple of enemies, and then by the end of the game, I literally might as well have been running around with an LMG. It's not that the solo mode is bad, but it is a very different game. It's very quick. I mean, there's not a lot of rules to learn in this solo mode. It's pretty straightforward. It just changes a couple of aspects from multiplayer, and it's quick to set up, and you can run through it in a pretty short space of time. So it does have a lot of good points about it, but don't play the solo mode thinking that it's going to be a one-person perspective of the multiplayer experience. It's not. It's a very different experience. In fact, different enough that it could have been repackaged in its own box as a separate game. That is what I'm saying here. Very quickly, because I'm willing to give you lots of content for free, you have the expansion as well, Eagle's Nest. I figured, you know what, I got them all together and I didn't think it was worth a Beyond the Base Game video to do just Eagle's Nest for reasons you're about to find out. So I thought I'd just talk about it now briefly. The expansion is good, but for the price you pay, you don't get a lot in it. It's basically a map pack. That is pretty much what it is. You get a tiny little extra rulebook to explain the maps that you get in it, right? And you get 2 more maps, which is great. So you end up with essentially another big board, double-sided board, and 2 more of these things, because you already get 2 in the normal game, and now you've got 4 of them. So great, you've got 2 more maps. It's a bit like buying a Downforce map pack. But other than that, all you really get is 3 extra loadout cards.
Whippy!
Wow, 3. Thanks for the content. And you get a few extra miniatures with some special, like asymmetric snipers that you can play. They're really cool. I like them. You've got 4 that I think come from certain other sniper games or from other bits of history. I'm not sure. I forget what the specifics are. Let me just double check for you. It normally says, yeah, one guy, yeah, Rosa appears in Sniper Elite 4, somebody appears in Zombie Army 4, somebody appears in comics, you know, they're taken from various IPs, but it's 4 characters that play differently. Their shot bag is set up differently, they've got a restriction and a benefit. Like, I really like Rosa because she's a short-range sniper, and so her bag doesn't make a lot of noise, she doesn't make a lot of silence, she doesn't make a lot of noise when she's shooting, but can't shoot very long range. Fine, I'll sneak up to the opponent and shoot him at short range. That's fine by me, until you start going Call of Duty style, and then it just seems a bit ridiculous. But, you know, the expansion for what you pay, which is a good, like, 25 to 30 pounds for the expansion, does seem a little pricey for what you get. I mean, 4 miniatures with 4 cards, 3 cards worth for the loadout, and basically a bolster of, like, solo objectives and 2 maps. Seems a lot for the money.
Well, we're supposed to haggle.
So on the whole, I really do enjoy Sniper Elite. It's a solid game. Whether I'm playing the Sniper or the Defenders, I get a kick out of that whole hidden movement thing. The theme worked perfectly. They've certainly paid tribute, I think, to the, well, from what I know of the PC game. Be interested to know your thoughts if you disagree on that. But I think the component quality is pretty good. Even if you don't get these amazing poker chips, you know, the components are still sound. The rules aren't complex. You know, the 2 boards, you've got 2 maps. If you get the expansion, you can get 2 more. Although, like I say, I'm rating this based on base game alone. I'm just telling you about the expansion. I do wish that the solo mode maybe was a bit more requiring stealth rather than Call of Duty tactics, but you know, it's an impossible task, so I can only deduct so much from that. And I do wish it took a little bit shorter time and maybe was better scaled to 4 players. You know, even 3 players have only got so much to do, like 2 defenders, but it still works fine, so it makes it a little bit restricted. But I don't think those issues are enough to detract from the amount of enjoyment I get from a solid 2 free-player experience. So I'm giving this one overall a distinction level 9 out of 10. I think it's solid and definitely worth picking up if you are a hidden movement fan. Or even if you just like Sniper Elite in general, I think you'll get some enjoyment out of it. But I am going to caveat that this is highly dependent on you playing this with 2 or 3 players. I think if you play solo, you're only getting, say, about a 7 out of 10 experience. And if you play with 4 players, I think for the sniper, you're getting a 9 out of 10 experience. But I think for the defenders, you could be dropping to a good 7 out of 10 experience as well, just because it's too many defenders for what's in the game, really. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, please consider thumbing up the video, liking it, subscribing to the channel, subscribing to the Patreon if you want to help me get more copies like this to review for you, because I don't get these for free for the most part. Most of the time I've got to do it out of Patreon funds, and I thank you because you help keep this channel going. But you can also leave a comment to let me know what are your thoughts on the Sniper Elite franchise. Where should I begin? There's a Steam sale on in a few days. Maybe I should get started in. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. But also, hidden movement games in general. Do you like Spectre Ops? Do you like Fury of Dracula? A lot of other people like. I find that too long, personally. You know, Mind Management, is that any good? Or have you played this and do you have similar thoughts? Let me know what you have to say in the comments. Until next time, you can check out more content on the channel, including my top 10 5-player games list, but also the recent Beyond the Base Game video I did for Viticulture World, the new expansion from Stonemaier Games. Take care, and remember, as always, regardless of which side you're on, it's still only a game. Bye for now.